So let's have a look at some equipment. So this is just an audio equipment refresher. In other parts of the social media marketing masterclass, we've talked about microphones and audio preparation. But typically a dynamic microphone is going to be better in most scenarios for your podcasting. And the reason being is it has a very tight pickup pattern around the mic. So it won't pick up a lot of background noise. And if you're new to audio, I strongly recommend you find a good dynamic microphone. Now, the one we've got here is a Stag 50 style microphone. It's an XLR microphone, so you will need a sound mixer to use that. But the price for that microphone is £50 to £60. You can get dynamic microphones cheaper than that. I wouldn't go too low though, because you're not going to get the quality of audio on too tight a budget. So that's a great, in my opinion, budget microphone to get started with. And the top podcasters will spend £500 to £1,000 on their microphone, just so you have some context. But in the beginning, something like this is going to be perfectly adequate while you're learning the ropes and testing to see if your podcast is going to be successful. And then we've got condenser microphones. Now, these tend to work better in a sound treated studio. So earlier in the course, when we was talking about video and audio production, we talk about how to sound treat a room, how to stop reflections. If you're going to use this type of mic, then you really do need to consider sound treatment and some basic sound proofing. Now, the advantage of a condenser microphone is that the audio is just going to be that little bit better quality. It's going to be a little bit richer, and there's going to be a little bit more depth to the audio, but it is more technically challenging to get a good recording from. Now, the one I would recommend here is the Audio-Technica AT2020. This is actually a XLR stroke USB microphone. There's a version where you can get XLR or USB. Typically, it's sold as a USB microphone, which means you can plug it straight into your computer or your laptop whilst you're recording. And that's priced at £90 to £110. I wouldn't go below that if I was buying a condenser mic. And again, if you want a really high quality one, you're going to be paying £500 to £1,000 for a true condenser studio microphone. Now, obviously, you're going to need a microphone stand, and I recommend these types of stands. They are weighted at the base, so you're not going to damage your microphone if it gets knocked over. And these tend to be quite heavy on the base, so they don't tip over. You have to really knock them over. And they're better than some of the other stands that have got just 3 legs and no weight on the bottom. And one of these is going to set you back about £20 to £25. Now, one of the things you're going to need is an audio mixer. Now, the one I recommend is the one I use myself for my audio. It's the Mackie 802 VL74. The reason I use this is because it has very low noise and really, really good audio capability. Now, I did have a Behringer before this, and Behringer audio mixers don't have very good low noise performance. I found there's hissing and crackling and a little bit of popping here and there in the audio, and you might get one for half the price of this. But if you want a good quality podcast at the budget end, where you want a lot of quality for a low budget, this is the point to start. And obviously you can keep spending upwards from here, but this is going to give you everything you need to produce a podcast. Now, the thing to note with this is analog completely. There is no USB output. So if you want to record from this into your computer, you will need a USB adapter, which is going to cost you about £25 to £30. Now, I don't recommend recording into the computer. I always think it's better to record into an audio recorder. Now, I just want to say at this point, obviously the prices are mounting up here. You can literally get a lav mic on your iPhone or your smartphone and record and produce a podcast that way. But if you're going to get serious about podcasting, you're really going to want to invest in that audio quality, because there is no visuals. The only thing people are hearing is audio. And if you've got bad audio, they're not going to keep listening to your podcast over a period of time. So what I recommend here is the Tascam DR40. Now, the reason I recommend this is because this takes an XLR cable from your audio mixer. So your microphone goes into your audio mixer, where you can adjust your levels and your volumes and your gain, and then you have some XLR cables coming out of the audio mixer and they go straight into this recorder. And this will take XLR inputs, which is why we recommend this. It is also a portable recorder, so you can use this if you're doing recording on the fly. I personally own one of these and I've used it on video production. I've used it for recording audio. They're very, very solid devices. Now, they have this funny little thing though where they're time limited on WAV files. Now, I record my audio in MP3 and that gives me unlimited recording. Essentially, it says I can get as much recording on an SD card. And these take SD cards to record to. I can get as much recording on an SD card as the size of the card. So I could record for 13 hours solid. But if you record in WAV, which is the highest quality, then you're going to be restricted to 3.5 hours of recording, no matter the size of the SD card. Now, if you think about that, that shouldn't be a problem for most podcasts because you're not recording for 3.5 hours at a time. But it is a weakness of this device I found, and I just wanted to mention that in case you're thinking of recording batches of podcasts and you're just leaving things running. But like I say, if you record in MP3 in the highest format of that, you can get 13 hours on a 4GB card. So it's not a limitation unless you really want WAV files. And WAV files are basically, they're not compressed. So there's just a little bit more information in there, slightly bit better quality, but to be honest, no one's going to hear the difference in my opinion. Now, one of the important things when you're podcasting is to have a pop filter. So what we've shown here is the Apex Double Nylon pop filter, which is available on Amazon, and you can be paying £8 to £10. Now, there's lots of pop filters on Amazon, different types. You get this type, and then you'll get the type I use on my microphone, which is like a foam wrap on the actual microphone itself, which I prefer. But do check the reviews because with some of these pop filters, the gooseneck, which is the bendy bit, on some of them, they're not very strong, and you'll find the pop filter will fall over. So you want to make sure you've got a good pop filter, and the only way to do that is check the reviews on somewhere like Amazon. If you're having trouble with noise and you need a DIY vocal sound booth, if you go on YouTube, I have a video on how to make this acoustic sound booth. So it's basically an acoustic foam cube, and all you do is you cut the center out, you put the microphone in, and then it stops echoes hitting the mic and reduces the amount of noise hitting the mic, and the only thing you can then hear is your voice and not the echo and background recording. So this is a really simple, easy way to create good quality podcast audio. So like I said, go to my YouTube channel, Mark Timberlake, and search for DIY vocal audio sound booth, and you'll find this, and it's going to cost about £12 to £15 to make, as long as you can get access to one of the acoustic foam cubes in your country. And the reason I share this is you can spend a lot of money. You can spend £150, £200 on something similar, but DIY solutions like this, when you're starting out with your podcasting, are going to save you a lot of money, and they're not going to be any different to the really expensive audio sound booth solutions that are out there. And of course, you're going to need some XLR cables. So I always recommend a good 6-meter standard cable. You'll need one from your microphone to your sound mixer, and you'll need 2 to come out to record if you're going to use a Tascam DR40. So you'll need 3 of these. Now, the cables can be the weakest link in your audio quality, so don't go too cheap. These are Stag, these are pretty standard, and they're going to cost between £6 to £10 for 6-meter cables. Now, obviously, if your mixing deck is further away, I would recommend longer cables, but I'd recommend a minimum of 6 meter because you'd be surprised how many times you'll move your equipment around, and you might want your mic quite a distance away from your mixer. So don't go too short, don't go too cheap.